In this video, we'll be giving you a general introduction to the procurement solution inside of Apptivo. So as far as an agenda for this session, what we're going to start off is by covering what is Apptivo Procurement and, of course, what is Apptivo as a whole, in case you're brand new to the platform. And then we'll dive in and we'll just say what is the workflow sitting behind this set of applications. And specifically, we're going to dive into the gear of trying to help you get set up and started. So we'll talk about what are the key steps that you need to do and actually to get going with the platform. And we'll hop into the application and we'll actually walk through those steps together so you're able to get up and running. Okay, so let's start off. What is Apptivo and what is the procurement solution? So if you're brand new to the platform, Apptivo is an integrated suite of many different business applications. There's a common set of collaboration tools that underpin the entire platform, but otherwise we have many different apps from categories, such as supply chain, CRM, marketing, project management, financials, etc. So the idea is that there's this app store. We can pick and choose which applications are right for you. You can use just the procurement solution that we're going to be talking about today, but Apptivo is designed to be an all-in-one solution where all these apps are interconnected. So for today, we're really going to be talking about the procurement, which is they exist inside of supply chain and financials and CRM to an extent. But the idea is you'll start to see how the data is structured in Apptivo, where in procurement, when we're talking about the procurement apps, we have just this small little set right here. So you've got suppliers, shipments, items, purchase orders, supplier invoices, inventory, receiving. In addition to that, you have the contacts application. But the idea is if we go back to the previous step, contacts exists under our CRM category. But the concept is that you have a supplier. These are going to be your vendors, the organizations that you purchase from, and then you can track the contacts. Well, who's my billing contact, my shipping contact? Who are all the people that I know at that organization? So this is actually the same contact database that drives the rest of Apptivo applications. So if you're sending an invoice or if you're doing sales, it can be the same contact database as these vendors that we have in the procurement solution. So that's the way that the system is structured. Each one of these apps is on our latest and greatest technology, freshly upgraded to V6, so it will be fully responsive. You can access it from any device and you'll be able to log in. And as far as like the high level workflow, when we talk about procurement, there's some different features. We're actually not even going to talk about one component, which is the final step on inventory, but it starts off with you have a database of suppliers, and then we can come in and we can create purchase orders. So we'll indicate what products we want to purchase, the price that we have on the list for that supplier, and then we have a mechanism to email it off. We can send them a nice PDF file with your logo and everything like that, and officially sending them the order. And now we have a place to track, well, where are all of our outstanding POs? Then the process will be that they will generate an invoice, send the product and the invoice back to you. So you'll be able to turn this PO into a supplier invoice and then track, okay, what is the invoice number they've received? Have they updated any pricing? What did the shipping cost? And then finally go back and track whether you've paid it and how you've paid it off, which would be recording the payment against it. Then the final step, which we're really not going to talk about too much today, we're going to be talking about purchase orders and supplier invoices, is the inventory integration. So part of the greater supply chain solution, which we're just looking at half of it, is the inventory management. So we're looking at the part of the flow of sending POs, managing purchasing, and bring that inventory in. But there's a separate application to track all of your individual inventory products and a completely separate fulfillment flow, which has order management, dealing with customers and invoicing and shipments to move the inventory out of the system. So either of these can be used independently, but then they also are designed to be used in tandem, so you have your entire supply chain solution covered. Okay, so just real quick, we're not really going to talk about it. I just wanted to flash the inventory management workflow in front of you. So basically the inverse of what we were looking at a moment ago is you create an order to your customer, you pick release it, generate shipments, and drop the inventory count, versus what we looked at is the procurement flow for inventory is sending a PO, generating a receipt from it, and then bringing that inventory in. All right, so we're going to keep it nice and simple for this presentation. And let's talk about what steps do you need to take in order to get started with the procurement solution. So we can break it down into really like 5 key steps, and 4 of them are getting started. So it starts off is we just want to add our basic business details, because when we send a PO to our vendors, it's going to have our logo and our standard business address, the shipping address that you always want stuff to be sent to. So we'll be able to build that into one standard spot, and then every purchase order we send will include it. It also does apply it to other apps like invoicing and everything like that. And then we need to come in and we need to create our products. So there's going to be the products that we carry. You'll notice that I will be able to indicate a retail price to my customers, although I can have mini prices. There's some more cool stuff there. But then the key thing is we want the product in place. So when we go and create our supplier, we can indicate what products that they carry and how much we have to pay them for each product. So we're putting together the supplier's price book, which that all is the setup work that leads us into creating our first PO. So then we'll hop in there, we'll go create a PO. Whoops, sorry, I changed my page a little bit. So we'll go create that PO, we'll send it off to the supplier, and then we'll wait for the supplier to respond back. I'll show you how to turn that purchase order into an invoice, record the payment, and then I'll just show you the flow where I could go and generate a receipt for it. So the last thing I want to show you in these slides before we hop in is just kind of, okay, we talked about those apps, but how do those apps get drawn together? So really everything's going to center around your supplier. So there's an organization profile for each one of your vendors, and you have a list of products that they carry with their pricing, and you have a list of people who work for that organization with their contact information and address details. So once you have that core information set up, this information is reusable, and we start creating the transactions. So we'll generate a PO. It would use all three of these components of information. Then we turn it into a supplier invoice and generate a payment from that supplier invoice. So let's go ahead, let's dive in, let's get started. What I've got here is a very lightly configured. I just registered for this firm the other day. All I've done so far is I've put a couple contacts and such in here, and you'll see that my navigation on top is set up for procurement. So the first thing you see when you log in is going to be the apps across the top of the page, and this is what we'll want to do and get set up. So in case yours doesn't look like this yet, let's quickly show you how to get there, which is you want to head on over to the App Store, and we're going to add those applications from the procurement solution. So just going down the list, start off in human resources, and if you are going to be adding other users, you want to add employees. Then move into CRM, and you will need the contacts application. So those will be the people that work for our vendors. Then we'll move on to product management, and you need the items app. That is your main product database. Then into supply chain, you're going to want to have suppliers. And then if you scroll down, you'll definitely want to have purchase orders. And you potentially want to go and include like inventory, receiving, shipping. So if you want to have the other areas of supply chain, certainly you might have more applications than I'm mentioning, but for sending POs and tracking invoices, we specifically need suppliers and POs. Then move on down to financials. And the last applications that you want to add is we come down here, you're going to want to add payables, which is also known as supplier payments. And we will see supplier invoices right up here. So between all those are the core apps that we need. And then once you have them, to make them look like mine, you want to click on more, then customize my apps. And up here, you'll be able to kind of pick your top 5. So you'll notice how under customize home, I've got these 5 drop-down menus, and they simply say which applications I want to view on top. So I could change like employees, and then I can move over and maybe show my supplier payments instead. Or, oh, sorry, I did not add the payables app. So I can come in there and add it, but we'll leave it as employees. So you get your navigation up there, and if we kind of take back, so we'll just keep referring back to this slide deck as far as like the steps that we want to run through. So we want to add in our business details. Back in the application, to add your business details, click on your name in the upper right corner, then select business settings. Now right here, you can see the mine's already in here. So the business name and branding name. Branding name is what will appear on the PDF files that we generate from the system. So this is the important one from your customer sees. You can just click on here and upload your own logo. So you see I've got this L4 Equine Transport logo. Then you can add your phone number. This will also appear on the POs. And your address will also appear on the POs. So you set this up one time, it's done forever. If you ever want to adjust it, you come back into the business settings to change it. Okay, so then the next one is we got to create our first product. So the products are underneath the product management category in the items app. You do have the ability to come and upload a spreadsheet of products right now. So there's an import tool right here. You can go and upload that spreadsheet. Otherwise, I can create a brand new item and key it in. So I can come and punch in my details right here. Just type in a name, a price, and a description. So let's just say that this is a trailer hitch, and let's just say it's a 4-inch. So just standard trailer hitch, and then let's say that the price we're going to charge to our customer is going to go in here. And let's just say our standard price is $250. Now you'll see that there's a standard cost, but this is just for information. This is not where we're going to put in the supplier cost. So I can put in a standard description here. So I mean, let's just say I'll repeat the same thing, but you could put in a full product description and it will pop up on the POs. And then I'll go ahead and I'll create it. There's other tools you can do to categorize it and such, but none of that is required for the PO flow. So I simply need a product, and I want a price, but really it's just the product and description. And I go through, I can create many products, import them all, but I get my products set up. Now I'm on to creating my suppliers and adding contacts to them. So we're going to start off and do this from the suppliers application. So up top, I've got suppliers right here. Now, just in case you've already imported your contacts from, Gmail or something like that, it is possible to add an existing contact to a supplier, or I can come through and I can set up my suppliers from right here. So in this case, let's just click on this existing one. Normally I just create and I type it in. So I've got a supplier called Ohio Animal Trailers. So then you can give them categorization, you can describe them. There's many ways that you can slice and dice apart your vendor database. We're not going to really focus too much on that. We just want to get a PO out really quickly. But then you'll see emails and phone numbers. So what you want to do is you're going to be selecting a specific contact when sending these POs. So notice I don't have an address here on my supplier record, but I've got a phone number and email. And then when I scroll down, I have a contact. So here I can have one or many contacts at this supplier. So the idea is I could create a brand new one from right here. You'll just see first name, last name, pretty standard types of information. And I can input their address and everything there. And you will also notice up top there is a type. So this is where I can select whether they are the billing or the shipping contact as a primary for this supplier. And I can add many contacts, but I've just got my one right here. So we've got Henry Langton, and we're going to use him. So he's got an address and everything like that. So you get kind of your core contact information, vendor information set up. And the next thing is the list of items that they are going to sell. So you'll see there's a tab on the top of your supplier for supplier items. You can click on this. I'll get a list of each item, which you'll see I've already added one. So I've got my luxury horse trailer has put in here with the cost and all that. But what I can do is I'm going to create a new supplier item. Now, one thing is I went to the items app and set up my item ahead of time. You'll notice right here that that trailer hitch, I would be able to come in and find it. Whoops, I think it was a 4-inch is what I called it. There we go. So I just start typing in the product name and I'm able to take the standard item and everything directly from there. Let's say if this was the first time I was putting a product in, this little plus sign would actually allow me to insert a brand new item. So you'll see the basic item fields are available right here, and this would create it inside of the items app. So either way is a perfectly valid way to get your information in, but we have to get an item in here. We're going to track the item from their database if you have it. And then how much are we going to be purchasing this product from them for? So let's say we acquire this at 130. Now you can track common manufacturers because sometimes you will be purchasing the same product from multiple suppliers, but it's the same exact product manufactured by the same group. So we allow some basic linkage there. And I could also have a standard description that gets applied into POs and such. But otherwise, I'll go ahead and I'll just create this pretty standard one. And now I've got 2 different products that can be carried by this supplier. So this is all just kind of the initial setup. And yeah, I might come back here later on and need to come back and edit the costs, make some modifications. So all this is possible. You'll see it'll just link you back into the items app where we can make adjustments, change pricing, anything like that. But then otherwise, we're ready to go and create our first PO. So we've got all of our basic information set up. We just have to create a purchase order and then choose who we're going to send it to and what we want to include on it. So back into the application, we're going to go up top and click on the Purchase Orders app. Now, inside of here, you'll see once again, I've created one purchase order in the past. So over on the left, I'll be able to browse my purchase orders based on their status. I can go search through them. Just like every app, I can search and slice and dice my data apart however I want. But then in the upper left, I can click this Create button and let's go create a brand new PO. So there is a numbering system built in. So in case you are coming from another system and migrating, there's an area inside of the settings where you can change the numbering. So it starts counting from where you are. I'll show you that in just a moment once we hop in. And then need by date, PO date, pretty standard stuff, but I can make adjustments here. Then you'll see it'll pre-select whoever I am currently logged in as, but I could change it to a different employee's name to indicate that they're the buyer. And then we'll have a status of the PO, which will normally be created right here. And one cool thing is I only have one template, but you can manage multiple different presentations. So on the next step, you're going to see how our system will create a PDF file of this purchase order. And I could have 2 different ways I want to present that PO to the vendor. So now I have my supplier field, and remember we had our Ohio company here. So I can just once again start typing, or just in case I don't know their name, I can click on this little lens icon and it will open up a pop-up and show you all of your suppliers. So I simply type in Ohio and we'll go select Ohio Animal Trailers. Now we only had the one contact on there, so you'll see that the contact list will filter, but similar to other locations, let's say if I wanted to add a brand new contact, I can actually add somebody right here. What it'll do, it'll add them, will link them to that supplier, and it will include them on this PO, and then they'll be stored away in the contacts app. But in this case, we'll just use Henry. And then you'll see as soon as I select Henry, the phone number and the email address are automatically filled in. And you could configure it to also autocomplete the billing address. So you can see I can do billing and shipping and such here. For the sake of it, I guess let's just type in some gibberish here just to get some content. Okay, and then we come down to the meat of the PO. So what products are we looking to purchase? And this is what links us back into that supplier's item tab when we were configuring the price book for the supplier. So right here, just like the other areas, you can just start typing stuff in. So I can punch in my 4-inch trailer hitch. You'll notice it pulls over my description, the item from the supplier, and then along with the cost that I've specified for that supplier. Now, one item we didn't talk about was taxes, which in some cases you might have to worry about taxes, but in some cases you might have to estimate, all right, well, there's going to be this kind of VAT tax or sales tax or whatever it might be. So once again, just like the numbering, I'm going to show you how I can configure tax codes. So we'll hop back into the configuration in a moment and show you that. Then otherwise, I can just click here. I can add any additional notes that I might want onto each line, and you can add as many lines as you want. So we could also come in, we could go find that horse trailer. Okay, so that puts it all in there. We get everything looking how we want. It's possible to adjust pricing right here, so we allow it. That is a setting you can control. The supplier might not accept it, but yes, you are able to modify it manually. And of course, I can control quantity. So let's say I need 5 of these, but only 1 of the other. So I've got all my PO all put together, it totals it up on the bottom, and then I can create it, meaning I can just like, some people might not actually want to send it. Maybe you're just trying to track it and you have to go fill it in the vendor system. Pretty common when you're dealing with large entities. Or I could actually send it directly from within Apptivo. So I'll create and send. So this gives you a little email preview. So this is a message. You can actually come in, you can create your own email templates. But then attached to the email, what you'll see is there's this PDF file. One other thing I want you to take note of is this ID number into the subject line. So our system actually has built-in email tracking, where I'll show you how I'm going to send this to myself, actually. And I'll show you what this looks like from the vendor's perspective. So we'll just give that a moment. And now what you see is on this screen. So we've sent out the purchase order. It's now going to be in my inbox in just a moment. And now we're just viewing the details of the PO. So at any time from your side, you can hit this print PDF button and you can just download a copy of the PO. So if you need to download it and mail it physically, no problem. You just save the PO, you download it. Here's what it looks like. You'll have your own logo. This is where your business information showed up. And then every one of these other details, like the generated by Apptivo, you're able to remove all of this stuff. You can rearrange it, rename it. Or if you need to add some of your other standard text, like a big block of text down here, like your standard terms, you can do all of that using that template editor that we spoke about. So this whole presentation is controllable by you. And then the result of it, I've got it up on my other screen. So this is what the customer will see. So they just get a simple email with your message and the PO right there. So just what we saw a moment ago. But one of the really cool things is, so now we sent that email and you see there's these other tabs on the PO. So we're actually tracking everything around it. One is you might want to put a reminder for yourself to follow up on the PO. So I could put a reminder in and just go and follow up on it tomorrow. Put in a quick little reminder, because maybe this one's really urgent. So you can track reminders. That's what these 3 tabs are for. Then, yeah, I mean, some people can log communication. A lot of people might never care about logging phone calls here. You can actually turn these features off. So I'll show you that piece real fast. But then on the emails, I mean, many of you are going to be using this, where I haven't gotten a response yet, so that's fine. But what I'll actually see is as I'm sending emails out, it will track them right here. And you'll see that it has this ID number in the subject line. So that means if the customer decides to just respond via email, the system is going to automatically display it right here. You don't have to do anything. So that part's really cool. You get to see your conversations back and forth. But then a little bit beyond that, when I look at this email, I can see if they've read it or not. So you can actually see that it got sent out delivered, and then you can see that I opened it because I opened it on screen a moment ago. So really cool feature built right in. Just send your POs out. You can see when they've actually been read. And then of course you can add any sort of just general notes or documents, and you'll see certain updates will automatically go and put a note in for you. Otherwise, if you just want to see like what's been going on, so let's just say I punched in a note right here. The idea is with this feature called Newsfeed right here. So whenever I just want to say like what's been going on with a PO, I can click on the Newsfeed and it will tell me the history. So if I change any attributes, if I'm adding notes and such, so if I come back here in a second, that note update would actually get published in here. So yep, you can look at the Newsfeed for one PO. Then there's also one that goes across the entire business. So the next step is that we would receive the invoice back from the supplier. And before I go there, I just want to quickly show you some configuration options. So we talked about the taxes and such. So each app is going to have a bunch of settings. You get to it right from up here. You don't really have to do that many settings to get your procurement flow up and running. But you'll notice like I talked about email templates being available. That's available right here. You just go and create your messages. Print web layouts. This is where you would go and you would customize how it looks. And you can actually fully customize every field on a PO. Like if you wanted your own forms and drop-down menus. The system is very, very flexible. But the basic configuration is really just numbering and taxes. So you'll see here it's auto-generated to turn on. Let's say if I just needed to start from 2005, I could just put a number in here and it would count up from that. So that's a quick little initial setup. And then taxes, like let's just say if I need to charge a flat 10% GST. Very simple for me to come in here. I'm just gonna say GST instead of a real authority. And then we'll do 10%. And we can say we want to print it as GST. So I can put that in there and now that's permanently available. So if we go like update that PO we just sent, we could change it to include our taxes. And then this way, the system will handle all of your tax calculations for you. So, okay, we got that PO. Just wanted to take that quick little detour. Let's get this process finished out and get you on your way. So the last step is I need to turn this PO into an invoice. So I will receive the invoice. You're just gonna have a purchase order number referenced on it, but if not, you can come back and we need to locate the PO. So I can locate it just by typing to, I could type in Ohio animal trailers, basically any field that is on the PO, you can just type in up here and it will be searchable. There is actually an advanced search feature where you can search based on any specific field. But we find our PO and then there's a convert button in the upper right corner of it. So you'll notice I can convert it to a supplier invoice. Very little work for you to do here. You just want to double check to make sure that they didn't change any pricing on you. And then potentially they've included shipping fees on top of that. And you'll want to indicate what is their invoice number. So they're going to send their own invoice numbering internally. And we just want to indicate, yes, we're paying off their invoice, which is CF85 or 875. Okay, so I just kind of write in their invoice number. I go through, I double check my information. So, okay, great. They've charged me all the expected rates and everything like that. And then maybe they added 280 of shipping on top. So nothing else you should really be changing here. It's very, very similar to the PO. So I simply create it. And the final step is to indicate once I've paid it or not. So you'll just see over on the left, I can see which ones are created versus which ones are actually unpaid. And you'll notice that you were able to track when the invoice was due. So our system will tell you which ones are actually just unpaid in general versus which ones have gone past due. So we've got our unpaid supplier invoice right here. You can see it links back to the PO. If we ever wanted to click that, we can go right on back. It will also link back to the supplier name. But the final step up here is we just want to pay the supplier invoice. All right, in this pop-up, you'll see the different options. So you can configure what payment types that you will be processing. So let's just say I've sent them a check, number 884. And it does support partial payments. So I can say that this check was for a partial amount. But in this case, I could say that that was the full amount. Let me mark it off as paid. We'll save that away, and our invoice is now done. At any time, if you ever need to print a receipt, what you can do is you can print this as well. Although it's much more common to be printing the POs and sending it out. Typically, your supplier is going to be printing out the supplier invoice and sending it back to you. So that basically rounds out your process. The last piece I just want to show you is back on that supplier record. So you'll notice each invoice and PO is linked back to the supplier. So one is I can click on this blue hyperlink right here and I can get all their supplier details. Or I can click on the 3 dots right there for more details. And from a supplier, you can always see a history of activity and purchase orders. So the newsfeed, you'll notice as I'm recording payments and updating POs, it'll show a full chronological breakdown right here. So it will go across the applications, gives you a great at-a-glance feed. And then the 360 view is going to show you a full history. So here's every purchase order we've ever sent to them, and here's every supplier invoice that's ever been related to them.
That will wrap it up for this video, but if you'd like any further information, head on over to youtube.com/Apptivo to find many other tutorials just like this. Thanks and have a great day.